Good morning. We are live on YouTube, and we are going to bring in our Facebook family, Atlanta Falcons fans on All Falcons, and Scott Kennedy Sports. Both of those, you might want to check out both of those Facebook pages. They've been very active lately.
Well, that's great. That's what you want. Happy New Year.
And welcome in, everybody. This is the Falcons Podcast. Happy New Year, everybody. As you just heard Nick say, I'm Scott Kennedy. I'm in Atlanta. This is Nick Kendell over here. He is in Seattle. So we are coast to coast with your football coverage. Several different time zones. We got several people joining us already this morning. Michael Ranquillo hops in early, says good morning. Scott and Nick on the Falcons Podcast. Happy New Year's and the first Falcons Podcast of 2023. Dave says good morning. Welcome to 2023. Good morning, y'all. So as the algorithms reach their tendrils out into the Facebook world and people start joining us, we look forward to them coming in. But Nick, how was your New Year's?
It was good. It was low key. I am typically not a big time, nightclub partier packed bar scene. So that's not my favorite. So I really just spent it watching a lot of college football. So I had some good games. Iowa won the most typical Iowa game. One of the ones we've seen this year. 0 for, I think it was 13 on 3rd and 4th down. 2 pick sixes and a 21-0 victory over Kentucky. So enjoyed that. And probably the best set of semifinal games we've had in a bit. I feel like typically we have some dud semifinal games in the college football playoffs, and these two were competitive. So I was a little sad both my Big Ten teams lost, but great matchup and excited for TCU, excited to see Georgia again, really talented teams. And we love the NFL. This is an NFL show, obviously, but college football has my heart. I got to be honest.
I mean, you went to a big football school, and so did I. And I was I quit. I almost quit a job over a college football game one time. So that was, it was an hourly type job. And they're like, well, we've got you scheduled for Saturday. I'm like, well, I'm not going to be here. So that's fine. If you want me back on Monday, let me know. If not, thank you very much. Had a good day.
God bless.
Want to get into this a little bit. The Falcons did a comeback. Let me touch on that for 1 second. What we were just finishing with, congratulations to the Georgia Bulldogs and TCU Horned Frogs. Those were two really good games. Michigan, I think Michigan fans can feel hard done just a little bit with some of the calls that didn't go their way. I've seen, those Twitter polls. What's the first thing you would change if you were in charge of college football? The rules and stuff. For me, it would be down by contact. That'd be the first rule. That wasn't a touchdown is kind of silly. To start the game. That's a touchdown. Down by contact. That's an easy rule to change. I don't think it's that big a deal for safety reasons or whatnot. Forget all that type of thing. And then, at the very end, I said it wouldn't have mattered in the game. But if you're worried about player safety, that last play's targeting. It's textbook targeting.
Yeah.
I don't think, like I said, I don't think it matters. But let's not be hypocrites here. If it's about player safety, let's protect the players. Because at the time, someone said, someone that I was watching it with said, oh, that's targeting. I'm like, they don't have the balls to call that right now. And then when they reviewed it, I'm like, maybe they do. And I'm like, okay, well, no, they don't. Because if they stopped it to review it, they should have called it. If you're just going to let it go, let it go. But if you're going to stop and look at it and then say, no, it's not, well, yeah, it was. On that note, the Falcons, I said, hey, it's the old is new again. The Falcons are winning games. They probably shouldn't. You don't want them to win. Hey, but, we knew that coming in. This Arizona Cardinals team was good. Credit to David Blau for playing really well at quarterback. I think he played him as well into a job for next year with someone that needs a good backup because he played really well. And Arthur Smith, frankly, was gushing for Arthur Smith about this win. Excuse me. And, Nick, out of Desmond Ridder, what are some of the things you saw that you enjoyed seeing, that you liked seeing from him?
Protected the football, got himself out of some leakage situations by the offensive line, and I thought navigated the pocket pretty well. Obviously, didn't have the most explosive day passing the football, 169 yards, but 6.5 yards per attempt isn't terrible. But I didn't think he was and I see there's a lot of comments of, God, this is just me being a realist or a Debbie Downer. I thought he was fine today. Mm-hmm. I just watched Brett Rippon dice this Arizona defense up 2 weeks ago. So I don't know. I don't think it was a game that I can take away too much other than that he protected the football. He was in a lot of good situations, in my opinion, thanks to the strength of the run game. Another banner day for Tyler Algier out there, banging people around. Pretty incredible. And I thought, again, Ridder was fine, but this isn't one that I think I can walk away and be like, yeah, we have our quarterback of the future. You might have your quarterback for next year. It might extend you into the offseason if for some reason you don't land a quarterback you're interested in this cycle. But I have not seen enough. And in this game, I did not see enough to be like, yep, that's the guy. We're married to him. Hallelujah. Burn all the quarterback scouting reports. We're not interested.
The Falcons are sitting at 7th right now in the draft. They would have been at 4 if they had lost that game. But they're at 7 right now. 4 puts them in all kinds of interesting options for quarterbacks and Will Anderson and Jalen Carter. 7, not so much. It'll be a little bit like last year where the players I really wanted were in the top 7. Falcons picked 8 the year before. If they had picked 3rd, they would have gotten a haul from San Francisco 49ers, and they picked 4th. So they got good players out of it, don't get me wrong, but sometimes there's more advantageous spots to be in. From what I saw, and look at what Lenore says, we have our QB1. And as Nick says, and I kind of agree on this, is I think the QB1 for next year. But I think he is played well enough to earn the right to say, I don't think the Falcons are going to be in a position to take a quarterback that they love enough to pass on a position player when they can just go with Desmond Ridder. Let's run through the top 4 real quick, and the likelihood of that they are going to be there, and if you would take them. Bryce Young at 8, and let's just say they're picking at 7.
No,
Bryce Young's not going to be there. Will Levis,
maybe,
and would you take him?
I have a lot more work to do right now, and I need to compare his 2021 season to 2023. There's a lot of reasons why he would have looked worse this season. Also had an injured finger. Right now, my gut instinct says no, but that's a write it in pencil. No. So
yeah, mine is even if he's there, I wouldn't take him over Ridder. And then let me address this real quick as some folks are coming in. Mark Lindemood comes in on Facebook. Appreciate you, Mark. And for hitting that like button. I see several folks in here on Facebook. Hit those like buttons. Send it. Tell the Facebook algorithm that, hey, there's Falcons chat going on. I don't know what's speaking of going on. I don't know what's going on with my my voice this morning. I didn't use it much. Like I was screaming at games all weekend, except maybe Chelsea. And then I just sat down and went again. RC Plane Builder says it was a great game by Ridder. It was. I think so too. And then Gabriel's asked us a couple times. He's coming. He says, moving forward, do you think we move up in the draft and go after Stroud? So that was the 3rd one on my list. Yes. CJ Stroud, if he's there at 7, do you take him?
If I like the kid, then yes.
Yes.
Again, I think Ridder
I like him. Yes. I take CJ Stroud at 7. What are the odds you think he's going to be there at 7?
I think you have a 30% chance one of Levis or Stroud are there at 7. The issue is that there's a bunch of teams picking right before you that are very much in the quarterback market. We don't know what's going to happen with the Seahawks there. Geno Smith has kind of taken a nosedive. They're in a position to take a quarterback. We don't know about the Colts. We don't know about the Lions. We could see the Las Vegas Raiders right behind you want to trade up for a quarterback, for the Carolina Panthers. So there's a lot of quarterback desperate teams around you. But I think there's a chance one of Stroud or Levis would be there at 7. Feel a little bit more confident in the top 5, though.
Right now, I think all 3 of those guys, depending on how things shake out, but right now it feels like all those 3 guys could be gone in the first 6 picks. I would take Stroud. Watching him again, I'm like, what? Well, what's the knock on this guy again? Oh, he's had a couple bad games. Okay, so I know this is a bold statement, so everybody hit re-record button and hold on this. But the narrative is too reactionary.
Oh.
Wow. I know it's crazy. Can you believe that? If a guy was a top 5 pick, he doesn't fall out of the first round.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen. If he falls out of the first round, it meant he never was a top 5 pick. That's the media talking this guy up, this, and this. Malik Willis didn't fall from possibly going in the top 3 last year to the 3rd round. He was a 3rd rounder. Unless there's extenuating circumstances, unless there's something in the background or an injury or something like that. But from a pure evaluation standpoint, guys in the top 10 don't fall out of the first round. They were never there. This was just guys like us talking about them. And right now, the talk is these 3 guys going in the top 6. CJ Stroud, to me, belongs in the top 5. He absolutely does. Now, Gabriel asked, now that I've led led this up. Gabriel asks, should you move up though? Would you move up to take one of these guys? And he specifically asked about Stroud. Let's say you're sitting there at 5, Stroud's still on the board. And it's, the Colts are going to, the Colts are going to need a quarterback. Let's say they've already taken one because they're picking at 4. So you're looking at 5, and let's say it's Arizona this time. They're right there also. Let's say it's Arizona. Arizona's not going to take a quarterback at 5. So do you talk to Arizona about trading up from 7 to 5 to take CJ Stroud?
If CJ Stroud's your guy, then yes. That's quarterback plays in it's a different game than every other position. There's a comment coming in from Wilbert Barrett saying trade up to number 1 and take Anderson or Carter. You don't trade up in the top 10 for a non-quarterback, in my opinion, in today's day and age, given what we know about the value. Take who was it just last year? The Saints, for example, trading up for Chris Olave, and now that pick is looking pretty damn bad. Sending it to the Eagles, and you're going to have to give up.
Olave could be rookie of the year, though, as a wide receiver. That's going to be worth $20 million a year in a couple of years. To your point,
but 2 first-round. That's a cost of 2 first-round picks. Then, if you're trading
what
away,
was the pick they sent last year? Was it
They traded. So there was a weird deal with the Eagles where they got like another 2 first-round picks for a two 2022 first-round picks for a 2023 and a 2022 first-round pick and 2024 second and like all this value, but they gave up what's going to be an early pick, traded for a wide receiver. Olave has been really good. I just don't think the value game, you're not trading up unless it's a small, like let's say you're moving up from 12 to 10 and you don't have to give up very much, but trading up to number 1 overall to take a non-quarterback, I would not be interested in that. But in regards to trading up for CJ Stroud, it's the opportunity cost. Do you expect the Falcons to be picking in the top 10 next season? I think that's question number 1. Question number 2 is, how much do you like CJ Stroud? If he's your guy, go get him. I know that is that fair to Desmond Ridder? I don't give a bleep about fair
doesn't matter.
Fair to Desmond Ridder.
Yeah, fair doesn't matter. These are professionals. Fair doesn't count.
Yep. Yeah, I just a little bit triggered still about all the quarterback conversation in Denver over the years. But if you think
cared about fair, we'd ask them where they wanted to go play. We don't care. We draft them and tell them where they want to go play. We don't. The NFL isn't interested in fair.
100%. But it really
Not
comes
when it
down
comes to players anyway.
Yeah. But it really comes down to your evaluation of that quarterback. If you love that guy and you think he's a franchise quarterback, you can reset your quarterback contract another year. You can get that 5th year option on him as well. And you don't think you're going to be picking in the top 10 next season, go for it. If you have questions about any of these guys, maybe one falls into your lap and you're like, okay, this is an opportunity cost. We can't pass it up. Fine. But I have not seen enough from Desmond Ridder to be out on the evaluations of this first round quarterback class right now.
I think that my gut reaction to that question would be no, because I think of trading 3 second-round picks to move up about that far to draft Sam Darnold. No, I mean, but then to your point though, if you love CJ Stroud, is it worth it? Still, not 4 picks. Not the 7th to move up from 7 to 5. That's your one. So you're trading a 7 and 2 seconds. 3 seconds to move up that high. Plus, because you're gonna have to be bidding against other people that do want CJ Stroud. Yeah. Can you package Desmond Ridder in there and lower the cost? Maybe. I like Desmond Ridder. I just think that moving up in the draft, which is why I said over and over and over again, when you've got a chance to take him while you're there, take him, Justin Fields, because moving up to get a quarterback or trying to trade for one is incredibly expensive. Now, the Falcons are in a position where they can give up some draft capital. They can spend some money. They haven't been in that position, but they still need as many picks as they can get to rebuild this team. I mean, we'll go through it maybe as soon as the season's over. Nick and I will do a show where we go through the roster and say, okay, gone or staying. And these are guys that could be staying. And we're going to end up needing about 25 players when we go through that type of process. Mark Lindemoon says, I saw the score and thought, oh no, the Birds are going to lose again. No. The Falcons are really good about winning late December games that moves their draft position down in a losing season. Really good, especially, against another bad team. There's the 2 teams I was watching yesterday at one point looked like they're like, we don't want to win this game, but we don't want to make it look obvious. And then, it hit me. I'm like, no, well, these teams both kind of suck. Let's not overlook the ineptitude of these teams as well. Just with the mistakes, the untimely penalties, all of those little things that add up in a small margins game like the NFL, when the Falcons play one-score games virtually every game and end up losing them. Steve Kennedy coming in. Good morning. Well, good morning, Steve Kennedy. How are you? And Chris Walker coming in on Facebook as well. He says, good morning, guys. Happy New Year. Started the new year with a win. Nice feeling. And it kind of was. kind of was. Or what? And, you know, to get it in a comeback fashion. We said last week, Nick, when Desmond Ridder had the ball, I felt like the Falcons had a chance.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't feel that way with Marcus Mariota. Like, they're going to have to throw. They can move the ball down the field. An untimely fumble by Drake London cost a chance to tie that game. But I felt like the team could move the ball through the air. And against the Cardinals, against I think that game was against the Saints or the Ravens. I think that was the Ravens game where they had a chance to move it down and get a tying field goal. I felt pretty good about Desmond Ridder. And again, you're talking about the lack of explosive plays. Look who he's throwing to, man.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I like Drake London, but he's not an explosive receiver. He's one of my favorite kind of receivers, which is 3rd and 8. Who do I look for? You know, that's to me my favorite type of receiver. Who's going to convert a 3rd down play? That's Drake London and Kyle Pitts all day long. Kyle Pitts ain't there, and it's just Drake helping to stack the box.
You have Mecole Pruitt. Come on now. No.
I love Michael. I think he's great,
too.
But he's a 250-pound tight end.
Yeah, no, you're right. And talk about unfair to Ridder. It's not just what you see from Ridder this season. It's as well. It's your evaluation in the last draft cycle where you took him in the 3rd round. That's your front office already made an evaluation on him. That's probably going to weigh more than what you've seen this season in taking him in the early 3rd round. So you're going to compare that to whatever quarterbacks you have in this board. They're going to be doing work on quarterback. Doesn't mean they're not going to take one no matter what, but I think it'd be silly to not at least consider it. And we got Liquor with the North saying quarterback right now isn't going to help. We need to build the defense. You're not taking a quarterback in the top 10 this draft cycle to help you right now. It's about, is this guy potentially our quarterback for the next decade? That's what you're looking for if you're having that quarterback question there. I agree. I think overall, this is a team that you probably take the best, as cliche as it sounds, best player available when you end up picking, more so on the defensive side of the ball. But let's say there's an offensive lineman or a wide receiver there that you have value in those picks. It sets you up where, let's say you want to move on from Jake Matthews in a couple years. Well, guess what? The top 2 offensive linemen in this class have both guard and tackle experience. You could play guard for a little bit, then shift him over. You could use another wide receiver, even though I know Scott will probably roll his eyes at that one. But Quentin Johnson in that playoff game looked like a height, weight, speed freak there on the outside. You put him with Pitts and Drake London. I mean, all of a sudden you have one of the most unique size weapons in the entire game. So it's just everything comes back to quarterback. Do you know you have a franchise quarterback? Yes or no? If yes, move on. If you don't know, then you have to consider the options.
Right. Consider the option, and that's it. Because you don't want to reach for one. That's the worst thing you can do.
Yep.
And I'm getting the feeling, and let me know if I'm wrong here, you know, Falcons fam, everybody kind of feels, listen, I've seen enough from Desmond Ridder to feel like let's give him a year and start addressing other places on the team. You know, unless CJ Stroud falls in your lap. And even then, I think there would be some mixed feelings with that because the quarterbacks are kind of an unknown, and a position player usually is a little bit more of a safe bet. Dave comes in, he says, edge rusher Tyree Wilson, don't overthink it. The QB class of 2024 will be fine. But that's the problem, Dave, is if the Falcons should be pretty good next year, Desmond Ridder quarterback or not, the Falcons should be 500 or better. This is going to be, if things go the way they should, the way you're hoping they go, the way they're planning, this will be your last best chance to draft a quarterback high. Your best chance was Justin Fields. Last year, there wasn't anybody that you really wanted to take that high. Mm-hmm. This year, you're going to have you've got a chance to have some questions on here. And the thing to remember, and I want to get to Justin Tuggle. Now, Justin, do you and I know each other? Is this my quarterback from Peachtree Ridge, Kansas State quarterback, Justin Tuggle, back in the day, or is this just a screen name or a good coincidence? So if it is good to see you again. It's been a long time. I hope you were doing well. But he says defense with a mediocre quarterback. It's okay with me, and I think that's part of the question. It's like, okay, we saw good enough quarterback play, but this defense is killing me, Nick. I can't take it. I can't watch another year of this defense. I can't do it.
One thing I've learned about defense is that if you have salary cap and money available, you can turn it around very quickly. Right. The Cincinnati Bengals defense 2 seasons ago, I think, was 28th in the league. And last year they finished, I think it was 13th in EPA per play. What'd they do? They tossed money at it. They got an edge rusher.
They poured $200 million into their defense.
And just like that, flipped it around very quickly. Now, obviously, it's not the best long-term building strategy, but if you want to turn around a defense, I think it's much easier to fix a defense through free agency than it is offensive line, offensive infrastructure in general, blah, 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 just in how today's NFL is really valuing those playmakers on that side of the ball. But of course, this team needs defense. You could use an edge rusher. You could use defensive tackle. You could use cornerback. All those positions there are going to be a conversation when we figure out where the Falcons end up picking. I think my number one cornerback in this draft cycle is going to end up being Christian Gonzalez from Oregon. I think he moves the best out of all the guys out there. Just the fluidity is outstanding. You got multiple edge rushers that could be available there. I saw somebody mention Tyree Wilson from Texas Tech. I like Miles Murphy a little bit more than him. You got Brian Brisset of Clemson, also defensive tackle. That's an option. So will be interesting to see what the Falcons end up doing there. And then, of course, offensive line and wide receiver. Those are value positions. You just want to add to that infrastructure, make it as good for Desmond Ridder as possible. I mean, I'm very much if you have horse blinders on in the draft, you're going to make a mistake. Where can you possibly go to add to the talent to the team?
Wilbert says, I would trade up to number 1 and take Will Anderson or Jalen Carter. That would be expensive. That would be expensive. I think with this win, that ship has sailed, Wilbert, unfortunately. If they don't make that play, but you ask yourself, what are the intangibles worth for winning that game, for the confidence of this team, for the confidence of Desmond Ridder? Was it worth it? It's a short-term feeling. I said that about the Saints last year. You don't want to lose to the Saints, but picking 8, it was either like there was such a difference in strength of schedule. It was like winning that game would have taken you from like 8 to 16. Mm-hmm. It was a big deal. Come draft day, when you could have been sitting at 5, and you watch one of these guys go off the board and you go, damn it, that you're going to be happy about it. And Mr. Smith says, Ridder is fine, guys. We need trenches to beef up the O-line and D-line. See, I want to remind you of this, Nick. Falcons fans aren't used to being able to spend free agency money. So remember, y'all, while we talk about draft, that's not the only avenue of improving this team for the first time in God knows how long.
Yeah.
There's free agency out there. I've been kind of pushing on Yannick and I can't pronounce his name.
Yannick Ngakoue.
Yannick Ngakoue for the Colts. You pencil him in for 10 sacks a year. Yeah. And he was on about $15 million. $15 million isn't a ton of money for a guy that I could put in and be, he's rock solid. A bell cow edge with Ebiketie on the other side. I'm feeling pretty good about my edge room at that point, Nick.
Yeah. Maybe not the best in your run defense out there with Ngakoue being one of the worst run defenders in the league at the edge spot. But, I mean, get after the quarterback. There's more value there. And you can find a specific role player. I mean, how late in the season did the Chiefs sign Carlos Dunlap this year, who's been their power edge kind of player? So you can definitely improve the defense through multiple avenues. And you have some young guys on the defense starting to step up too. Richie Grant, great game, a block punt, flying downhill. We came to this season, like Richie Grant's first season looked pretty poor. This year, he looks like a guy who, you're excited about him on the rookie contract the next 2 seasons. Mm-hmm. Saw improvement. I think it was Troy Anderson out there in that 4th down stuff where he came down and took out like 2 blockers and then freed up another one to make a stuff at the line of scrimmage on. It was right after James Conner got hurt. But you have those guys stepping up. AJ Terrell looked like fine out there. So
real quick before we get out here, because we've got about 5 minutes before we need to go on a Monday. We go short.
Yeah.
I want to hit a couple questions on here. Kevin says, good morning. Olave costs too much. And then Wilbert also comes back and he says, what about trading down? Yes, I'm always a proponent of trading down and getting more shots at it, especially in the first round. Yeah. If I could pick up another first rounder, give me a 2024 first rounder and I'll trade down. You want to go from who's got a couple first rounds? The Seahawks. If I want to go from 7 to 18 and then pick up a 2024, all right, I'm real interested. I like that idea. Keith Robbins coming in saying good morning. I don't want to say our good mornings and everything before we get out of here for everybody. I'm not going to get to hit all of the comments. Rusty Harness, and that's a good thing. It means we're growing and being more popular. So make sure you hit us at falconspodcast.com and leave a comment after the fact. I will come back and have this discussion on YouTube. I promise you. because I think Ridder will need competition at the QB spot to see if he's to open the season, search free agency, and find a backup that could be a starter. The Falcons will likely have 2 new quarterbacks come in next year. Felipe Franks isn't a quarterback. Marcus Mariota's not coming back. So yeah, Rusty, they're bringing in two quarterbacks next year, and I think one will probably be a lower cost Teddy Bridgewater, Andy Dalton type free agent that can hold the fort. Could be a bridge guy if Ridder falls flat on his face. Candler Price comes in, says, good morning. With our running game, we have to go offensive line or best defensive player available. Give Ridder another year and more time in the pocket and see what happens. We're not as far off as people think. No, it's not. This team has improved a lot. And speaking of improvement, this is the last thing, or lack thereof. For me on offense, there's only a couple holes left on this offense. Then you want to start building depth. You need another wide receiver, probably 2. You need to make sure the left guard spot is secured because Eli Wilkinson as a free agent played very well. I'd be fine with him coming back as a starter. Right tackle, we're all talking about this like Caleb McGarry will re-sign and come back. He might not. And then he played very well this year. The other big position of question for me that didn't necessarily have an internal option, and I asked Nick, I said, I want you to watch Drew Dalman in the first half of this game and let me know what you think. He's like, good or bad? I'm like, I'm not saying. Just watch him and let me know what you think. So, Nick, Drew Dalman, what did you think of him in the first half?
The human sled. Man, just getting whipped at the point of attack on a few plays. Now, I will say I thought there was a few stunts and twists where I saw him from the center position kick all the way out to where the left tackle goes. So solid awareness and lateral mobility, but at the point of attack, not getting it done there. We talked about Desmond Ridder handling pressure well and manipulating the pocket, stepping up and delivering the football. A lot of times that was because that center was getting blown back or kind of riding that guy. Like almost you see a left tackle, right an edge rusher out of the pocket. However, it's coming right up the middle from your center. So not a great game from Dalman. I know that you've been on the train of maybe not good enough there for a bit. He moves well, but he's just getting beat up so consistently and can't anchor or anything like that. That's definitely a position you can look for. And that's with the benefit of having Lindstrom next to him as well. So he's been struggling.
All right, this is why I didn't want to bias you, because I thought this was by far Dalman's best game. Now, again, the bar has been set incredibly low.
Yeah.
And it was against an Arizona Cardinals team that has flown south for the winter. But I saw a lot of things I liked. I saw a lot of things where I'm like, okay, first-year starter, this is a guy who might be able to make a jump from year 1 to year 2 and be a starter. Now, when I posted that on my Falcons Twitter account, I got some, he's playing against crap. I'm like, well, you can only beat the guys that are in front of you.
Yeah.
And I still want to bring in competition. I still want to bring in somebody I think is better than him. But I've given Drew Dalman so much crap all year about, hey, and it's not his fault. I don't blame guys for, not necessarily being good enough. That's on the Falcons. That's not on Drew Dalman. Drew Dalman's out there playing his ass off.
Yeah.
He's just getting beat at the point of attack. But especially there was about a 35-yard run that they called Lindstrom on a hold for that was a spectacular blocking effort from Drew Dalman. I mean, it was chef's kiss beautiful. He got called for a holding penalty that was bogus. I think they probably saw 61. The 61 looks a lot like 67 on those fonted uniforms. I think it was probably the left guard. And then the snap, I put that on Ridder more than Dalman. I thought Dalman looked like a competent NFL center. And I don't mean to say this overly negatively, but really for the first time in his career, he looked like a guy that I was like, okay, might be able to move forward on this guy, which would be a big help because that's just one less place you have to worry about. Yeah. On that note, we're going to get out of here.
I'm going
to let Nick finish off because he wants to finish. But Kenny says, good morning, fellas. Reports of the Broncos reached out to Harbaugh. We're going to talk about the Denver Broncos when we hop over to Mile High Huddle here in just a few minutes, Kenny.
Real quick, wanted to give a shout out. I'm this guy, I guess now. Special teams for the Falcons in this one. Blocked punt. The punt that was the coffin corner as well. I mean, punt coverage, punt unit, chef kiss. That was one of the big differences in this game. And just looking over the stats, we like to, okay, where are these advantages? What are these parameters where you can win football games? Falcons, 7 points off of turnovers. They had that one. They win the turnover battle +1. I mean, God, if there's anything that gets me going in football, it's the turnover differential. Falcons win that. And also not a great game from the red zone offense, only finishing 2 for 5 in red zone attempts. but better than the Falcons, or better than the Cardinals at 1-4. So, I mean, these are margins, big margins on that one. So, great for them. Happy for the special team standing out, and a solid game overall. I know I'm of the belief that you don't carry over momentum one year to another because it's so much of the team changes. It's so long between games, but still, enjoy the games, I guess, when you do wins because they don't come by easily.
And that said, experience matters.
Yeah.
You know, this is a this wasn't just a win for Ridder. This was a come from behind win in the fourth quarter win for Desmond Ridder.
Yep.
That's good. And like I said, I saw against the Ravens his ability to do that also. You know, Drake coughed the ball up, unfortunately. You know, again, I'm not placing blame here or saying, you know, this guy sucked. I'm not, this isn't a hot take. This was just, I felt like the Falcons have a chance with the ball and, you know, not scoring touchdowns. This team still doesn't have the weapons to score touchdowns. Matt Ryan never scored. All those comeback wins that Matt Ryan had were field goals. I swear they were. But to move the ball, and, you know, Mr. Smith comes in. He says, who was that fumble on, Drew or Ridder? Just wanted to make sure I answered this. He saw my answer, but for me, the snap was fine. I think an under center, a shotgun quarterback has had a little bit of trouble going under center a little more often. And I think that was on him. Joe is going to get us out of here. Joe, good morning. Sorry we missed you. Hit us up in the comments after the fact, and I will check it out for sure. So we're going to get out of here. Nick and I are about to hop over to Mile High Huddle on YouTube to talk Denver Broncos and their team building and see what they're looking like. And then we will be back here on Wednesday at 9 a.m. to talk Falcons, to talk draft, talk NFL playoffs, all of those things. So until then, appreciate everybody being here. Hit that like and subscribe button. Check us out at falconspodcast.com to share with your friends and family after the fact. And we will see you next time.